So we're talking about this week on Around the World today, March 2021. And we've been in a lockdown for over a year now. Here in the United Kingdom, in some kind of form, we've been under these regulations and living with COVID-19 for more than a year. Isn't it weird how life has changed? We're going to be talking about this, and we're also going to be looking about some of the news, what's happened in the last month, and possibly looking what's going to happen in the next 6 days of March. You're listening to Around the World today, here on Real Terryo Radio, with me, Terry D.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Series 4, Episode 4 of Around the World today with me, Terry D. And we are in March. This episode is named, it is March 2021. And I don't see myself, it's mainly because I haven't been feeling myself. If you listen to the World of Disability, you know that I've just changed medication. I've also had the runaround with my COVID jab. So basically I was meant to go for it last week. The doctor cancelled. I have a phobia of needles. So the doctor cancelled because they want to do it one-on-one instead of in a clinic session. So then we had a phone call yesterday. And the doctor's receptionist was still giving me the runaround again. So I asked for the manager and they sorted it all out, basically. It's just quite funny because something that was meant to put me at ease about me going to my doctor's surgery for my injection actually has not helped matters whatsoever. It's actually causing me now, do I actually want my jab or don't I? I'm scared about the fact that it's an eagle. I've always been scared of needles. But what can you do? You have to have it. Especially when right now, what I quite find funny, that the UK government are now talking about some kind of vaccine passports. We're now going to listen to Prime Minister Johnson's. I hope. Oh, we were, but we're going to get an ad. Sorry. Should I just play the ad? If you've got a problem with this, take it up with Sky News, but you're getting an ad.
And disaster. Treat those two imposters just the same. If you can see it, the world is yours to trade and invest. See it. IG it.
I do think there is going to be a role for certification. You might only be able to implement a thoroughgoing vaccination passport scheme, even if you wanted such a thing, in the context of when absolutely everybody had been offered a vaccine. So there are complexities, moral complexities, ethical problems that need to be addressed, and we'll be saying more about it. But on the international travel side, you can see the arguments.
So basically, the Prime Minister has gone in to say that there's going to be a role for vaccination certification. Well, that actually makes sense, doesn't it? And it's sought to cause anger from Conservative MPs and businesses over the possibility of Britons being asked to show proof of having a COVID vaccine or a negative test result before entering a pub. Speaking on a visit to a nursery in West London on Thursday, Mr Johnson insisted that no decisions have been taken ahead of the results of the government review into COVID certification being made publicly early next month. Isn't that going to be fun? However, the only report I would love to see from Boris Johnson right now, right, is basically I would want to see a report on the government's handling of coronavirus. He's using it just like Winston Churchill used the war for not being able to call elections after the war. Because, according to Churchill, in 1945, the war wasn't over. Well, we know that. But the vast majority of the war in the United Kingdom wasn't it? Anywho's, this month has been weird because we've seen the Nicola Sturgeon report come out, and Parliament the Scottish Parliament has dissolved. She tried to make it a political point, but they failed to see, and I've seen this with people with their arguments and about defence cuts within the United Kingdom. People are blaming Labour for all of these defence cuts. Meanwhile, it's the Conservative government who have been in power for the last 10 years, who have been making these defence cuts. The last 2 aircraft carriers that have just been commissioned into the Royal Navy were ordered by a Labour government. The Conservatives wanted to actually scrap them when they came to power. For 4 years, the United Kingdom did not have a carrier-based capability. We have only just got our fixed-wing aircraft back in our air arm, our naval fleet air arm. And then they're under strength. So people try and say with defence cuts, and I know I've gone off on, we were talking about Nicola Sturgeon, but we'll go back there. But people say with defence cuts, that the defence cuts themselves are a problem of Labour. No, because if you look at the 1979 defence cuts that were put through by the Conservative government, by 1982, the United Kingdom's overseas territory of the Falkland Islands was attacked. Now, jump to 2021 with a defence review. That's a year late. What was meant to happen is basically, if 1982, the Falklands War happened again, the United Kingdom would not be able to take back the Falkland Islands without leaving other territories or even the United Kingdom itself without a defence. So when the UK's territory in the Falklands is under attack, we would have to send the vast majority of our 72,000 troops that the UK government would like us to have. Yes, with reservists it takes it to 100,000. 100,000. But the fact of the matter is, those reservists are part-timers. And I'm not saying that they're not worth anything, but they have other responsibilities. They owe a contract to serve for only a certain amount of days a year. So, are we going to call up all reservists and become a reserve army? Because if that's the case, we might as well give up our overseas territories. See, this is another thing, and it's just led into it, because the constitutional problem with Nicola Sturgeon, it all makes sense that the political movement in the United Kingdom, politics is broken because of the party system. The party system does not help matters. Look at Nicola Sturgeon. You see that in Parliament, it's become partisan. She has tried to make it unionist parties against the SNP, the nationalists. And then an independent review. First and foremost, how can you hold an independent review by someone who isn't a citizen of the United Kingdom, firstly? Secondly, has never served in any form of UK government or civil service institution within the UK, because this person is Irish, but also is basically meant to be independent of any government institution, but is also the independent reviewer for the Welsh government. So how is he independent from devolution when he's trying, when two of the devolved administrations in the United Kingdom take him for impartial advice? Surely that's questionable. That's even more power than the UK government have in being able to control devolved administrations. And surely if the independent advice from government is going to come from anywhere, it should be coming from the UK government. This is the problem with devolution. Devolution, see, is only a half-assed approach to federalisation. And we've talked about this in previous episodes. And my problem is that they've turned an investigation on the behalf of the people of Scotland into what has been going on within the highest office in Scotland, into a circus, a free-ringed circus. It has ended a person's career. It has not brought justice to those who maybe are needing justice, even though the legal system said there was no case to answer. It has cost the Scottish taxpayer a lot of money. And this just doesn't seem to bother the First Minister. She is more concerned, yes, with COVID-19, right, and understandably, but she has made herself the face of COVID-19. If you look here in Wales, it's a lot different. We have less powers in Scotland when it comes to legal matters. Scotland controls this. Scotland controls some other institutions that we don't. What it does for us here in Wales, it sets back devolution 20 years. Because you just point out to the UK government, who are sitting back watching this, saying, well, it's now time to talk about giving Wales their own judiciary again. And may I add that Wales had its own judiciary up until 1830. It wasn't until 1830 that we got merged in with the English court system and had to share a judiciary. Up until then, there were two different distinct judiciaries, and we followed the English law. So, yeah, a bit different, right? Now, if we were to ever get our judiciary back, the problem we've got is, in Scotland, they're acting a bit, if they do something wrong and the government aren't acting properly, it's going to be a long time before they start looking to give it more devolved to other administrations. See, Wales is the only part of the United Kingdom that does not control its own judiciary. The fact of the matter is, Northern Ireland does, Scotland does, and England surely does. But when you try and merge two together as England and Wales, the fact is, we should have a whole United Kingdom judiciary or a federal states judiciary. Someone needs to come up with that. Then you've got that this week that the government's Department of whatever, the one for media, have announced that they're going, the guidelines for all UK government buildings are to fly a United Kingdom flag. Really great. However, in Welsh government buildings, they already fly a Welsh flag. Very good. But if you want to set back the Union in Wales, like, put the Welsh dragon on the Union Jack. And then you see comments, don't you, about... and then the same kind of comments, and we know the kind of people that come from people, right? So you see comments then, and it's just like... But in America, they sing the national anthem. And these are English people who don't seem to understand that their country does not have a national anthem. The United Kingdom, theoretically, does not have a national anthem. Wales has a national anthem. Scotland has a national anthem. What the United Kingdom has is the royal anthem. God Save the Queen. It's not a national anthem. It is a royal anthem. So, basically, right, they want everyone in the UK to sing the national anthem. And half of these people are socialists, are Republican socialists. So what anthem would these people from the right wing, you know, who want to get rid of the Queen and... yeah, what would they want them to sing? Britannia? How she rules the waves? Because I can tell you something, the United Kingdom, if you look at the defence cuts, and we've gone back there, does not rule the waves anymore. The United States does, or China, or even the Russians. But the United Kingdom doesn't. The fact that in some of these comments, I saw someone put a white flag. I'm trying to blame the left, when for the past 10 years, the Conservatives are the ones in power, who are the right. The fact of the matter is, in 1982, a British territory, sovereign territory, was attacked because of cuts the Conservatives made. Then we go back in time, shall we? So we go back to World War II. Neville Chamberlain went flying off to appease Hitler. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom was bombed from the air and attacked. The Conservative government, the Labour Party, it doesn't matter what side you're on. Haven't we worked out that the party political system is not good for defence? The party political system is not good for me or you. Shall we look at Brexit? An issue being Brexit? So you had people in the Labour Party who were Remainers and Leavers. You had people in the Conservative Party who were Leavers and Remainers. You had people leaving these parties to form new parties on this issue that they had nothing in common with. My point here is, do we put too much faith in politics, in our political parties? So when you elect a member of Parliament, a member of the Senate, a member of the Scottish Parliament, or any administration such as this, you do understand that if you are voting for a big party such as the Labour Party, the Conservatives, the monster raving loony party, they will take a party whip, meaning they will vote with their party. It is rarely done that MPs go against their party line, but we saw in Brexit that they were. So, party discipline has broken. You talk about party discipline, the chief whip knows everything there is to know about his or her MPs and where the skeletons are. It amazes me that you see people advocating something because they vote Conservative all their life, or they vote Labour all their life. Well, basically, that does not matter. I have quite a simple way. I've been called a lefty. I've been called a socialist. No, I'm not. I'm a Christian, thank you. And that shouldn't matter. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Once again, some more of my views have been talked about in previous episodes. Go back, listen. But the fact is, the way I see it, the way the church teaches me is, and the Bible teaches me, and Jesus teaches me, and God and the Holy Spirit, is that we should look at each side. Yeah, it's hard to make a judgment. Do you know what I mean? I hate making judgments, and I hate, being that decision, because sometimes taking a decision, I can be very, I don't know, is this the right decision for me? But just to say, when you go into an election, I'm going to vote Conservative because I don't like the Labour Party. But actually, you haven't read their manifesto. Or the other way round, and you haven't read their manifesto. It's quite bad. Because how do you know that you don't like it? Me and Terry Begley, who runs the media site Real Terror, we were discussing it. He's very right-wing with his views and conservative, and I love him for it. But the fact is, we found out, we were talking earlier about UK aid and humanitarian aid and what Lisa Nandy and what the governments have done about merging. The government has merged those two departments. And then Lisa Nandy's idea of a peace, like some kind of peace force. And I said to Terry, wouldn't that work with what the government has done and what Lisa Nandy has said? When you put it together, it works. Maybe what politicians need in our world is a little bit less of the party politics and the games, the free-ring circus that goes on, and a little bit more of working together. Because, again, what the Bible teaches, what Scripture teaches us, what Christ taught us, is that when we work together, when we're all in union, together, we have something great. We have something great. You know, we can change. We can change the world. You know, we can change where we live. We can even change this helicopter flying over my house right now that's interrupting my recording. Thank you, UK military. Do you think that they're listening to this recording? But anyway, where was I? We could change so much if we just drop the party line, if we drop the hostility to one another, if we stop and I know I've said, you know, we gotta have to make a judgment. Yeah, we have, because we are coming to an election. And we have to make a judgment. We need people, even if we don't like these people, we need people who are going to run the country. We're in a pandemic right now. And the one thing you should be looking at is how parties, how individual governments, what they're saying, you know, what they're going to do. Do you feel it's right? You know, that sometimes this happens. Do you feel it's the right thing? The fact of the matter is, the United Kingdom government's handling hasn't been the best, but neither has the Welsh government's handling in parts. You know, the same with Scotland. They've all got it wrong at bits. But it's a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. This, or the likes of this, have probably never been seen before. Well, we know this. Also in the news this month, we had the Harry and Meghan debacle. I don't really want to go into it because it doesn't actually offer anything to this. But once again, when you're trying to frame something, and this is the problem with our politics and our society, everything is framed for a snapshot. So, I can say to someone, I said that, or so-and-so said this, but frame it in such a way that it makes it look bad, but I don't give that much information away, and it distorts the truth. Sometimes, by doing that, by selling a snapshot, look at Donald Trump, voter fraud. Well, this week, and I really do want to play you. Oh no, we haven't got her talking because it was done for the news. This week, this will be on our website because I will uplink it. The woman, what is her name? The crazy one who kept talking about voter fraud, machines, and Hugo Chavez. She's come out and said, well, no one was meant to take me serious. So why were you doing it in the first place if no one was meant to take you serious with something so important as elections? What horror was on your face in January when the Capitol building was being overrun because people had been listening to you? But they weren't meant to take you safe or take your word for it. Because, you know, you are a lawyer. At the end of the day, it's not like your word counts for much, is it? Oh, wait there. If you're a prosecution lawyer, it actually does. If you're a defense lawyer, you would expect that you could put up a defense for your client. Meanwhile, less than 3 months on, people were not meant to take your word serious. This is the problem with the party system. The party system, the leader somehow thinks that the leader is the party. And this is what's happened within the Republican Party and the Conservative Party. And people seem to like this. They like the authoritarianism. Well, guess what? I'm going to go back to Christianity. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, or, God, heaven forbid, the Queen says. Because, quite frankly, we only have one king. We only have one entity, one being, one master, and that's Jesus Christ. Actually, it's the Trinity, not the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So, does it really matter if Hugo Chavez, who has been dead since 2013, somehow concluded to start cheating in the 2020 election, considering Donald Trump didn't choose to run for president of the United States until 2015. So at this point, Hugo Chavez has been dead for 2 years. And I'm sorry, I'm now going to say something that may be a bit paganistic or even satanic worshipping. But unless Donald Trump's lawyer had a Ouija board or some kind of process to be able to talk to the dead Hugo Chavez, who is now in God's kingdom, probably, you know, how could Hugo Chavez plan it? There were stories like this, but people were not meant to take her serious. I didn't take her serious when I heard this. But the fact of the matter is, because of a failed education system in the United States, in the United Kingdom, there are people who you could tell one thing. You can tell them, you know, that the grass is blue and the sky is green. And they will not question it because you've sold them some kind of falsified snapshot. But it's not actually what's going on. You know, it's quite bad, to say the least, that people are falling for this. And the only problem I can see is, you know, because of the party situation, because, you know, no one works together anymore, like, you know, publicly. You only see them, you don't even see them anymore, do you, behind the scenes working together? But you very rarely see them working publicly together. In 2021, it concludes that, you know, maybe this whole project about party politics, identity politics, trying to carve something out, is dead, buried. Well, needs to be buried, needs a funeral. And I think we're coming to that act now. I also think that if the United Kingdom government keeps on the way that they're going, we are going to see a independent Wales. This is something that could be quite interesting. I'm going to be talking about that in the next episode about micronations. I know that because I'm going to record it after this episode. So I'm looking forward to this. I'd like to thank you for listening, but that was my little rant on party politics right now. And March doesn't really seem to be going on. Brexit, the government, it's the same thing as last year, just COVID-19's a little bit more on, really. And we're not in a lockdown, no. We're trying to come out of a lockdown. Anyway, if you want to talk about anything or want to be a guest on this show, you can do that now. Visit our website at realterryo.com, click on the Around the World Today website, go into it and, you know, apply. I look forward to seeing you next week on next week's episode when it's about micronations. Have a great day and see you soon. Oh, wait there. It would help, wouldn't it, me being me, if I actually kind of like put the jingles in the right place. So, yeah, you know, I was going to go then, but should we continue looking at the news from today? The London bus trip that saved thousands of COVID lives? Actually, the recovery trial was set up in March 2020 to test existing drugs on COVID patients to see if they had the effect on the disease. The findings of the trial have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. As the number 18 bus wove through the London traffic, two passengers were deep in conversation. What they agreed on a pre-lockdown road near Euston would change the course of the pandemic and probably see the future of medicine. It would unite researchers, the NHS, and 40,000 COVID patients in an endeavour to uncritically suit a national public health service. It would save thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of COVID patients around the world. It would create the UK's recovery trial. The two past passengers were Professor Martin Lundray, doctor and designer of the large-scale drugs trial, and Sir Jeremy Fryer, director of the Wellcome Trust, one of the world's founders of medical research and the founders of the recovery. The date was 9th of March 2020. The pair were discussing implementing pandemic scenes coming out of Italy. Public transport does have a way here, doesn't it? But if it was up to the Conservatives, there would be no public transport. But anyway, I digress. Don't I? It's quite interesting. This story I'm going to post onto our Facebook page, Twitter, because I like it. Once again, I'm going, because it's now loaded, and thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next week. And thanks for tuning into the rant and the update of March. I'm still here. Everything is fine. If you want to talk or you want to decide on what topic you want me to talk about, you can go to www.facebook.com/RealTerryo or www.twitter.com/RealTerryo or YouTube or Spreaker, or send me an email, studio@realterryo.co.uk, or you can send me an email, terryd@realterryo.com, or you can, there's many different ways. Visit our website, realterryo.com. That's the easiest way. You can do it all on there anyway. Have a lovely day, have a lovely March, and if I don't speak to you before Easter, have a lovely Easter.
This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.